Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into one single document that can kickstart a police investigation, totally shape a court case, and in some wild instances, become the most critical piece of evidence there is. We're talking about the First Information Report, or as you probably know it, the FIR.
But here's the real question. Once that FIR is filed, what is it actually worth in a courtroom? Is it this bombshell piece of evidence that can win a case, or is it really just a bunch of procedural paperwork? Let's get into the true legal weight of this crucial first step.
So first things first, what is an FIR's main job? Well, it's probably not what you think. See, it's rarely ever the final word or some piece of hard evidence. A much better way to think about it is like the very first draft of a story.
In the vast majority of cases, an FIR is used procedurally. Its whole purpose is to act as a baseline, It's a way to check if a witness's story stays consistent from that very first moment they report the crime all the way to the day they're up on the stand testifying.
This is a legal idea called corroboration. Basically, if what a witness says in court lines up perfectly with what's in that original FIR, it makes their whole account seem way more credible. It's a really powerful sign of consistency.
And this is where it gets interesting. What happens when the story changes? Let's just imagine a witness files an FIR and in it they claim the accused used a gun.
Then, maybe months, maybe even years later in court, that very same witness says, no, actually, he used a sword. Whoa! That's not just some tiny detail, that's a huge contradiction that completely changes the narrative.
And this is where the FIR shows its real power. By comparing that court testimony to the original report, the witness's credibility can be totally shattered. That FIR acts as the crucial initial benchmark for the truth.
Okay, so the FIR is usually just for checking consistency, but there are a few rare, really powerful exceptions where that first draft can actually become hard evidence itself. There are three very specific situations where an FIR transforms from just a reference point into what's called substantive evidence, which means it can be used to directly prove a fact in court.
The first one is the dying declaration. Imagine a victim, near death, gives a statement to the police that becomes the FIR. If that person later dies from their injuries, the law essentially treats that FIR as their final words, giving it incredible weight as direct evidence.
The second exception, an admission. Let's say an accused person files an FIR, maybe trying to blame someone else. But if that report contains a critical admission, something like, I was at the scene when it happened, well, that part of the statement can absolutely be used against them as direct evidence.
And finally, we have the discovery statement. This is a big one. This happens when an accused not only confesses in the FIR, but also gives up new information that leads the police straight to evidence, like revealing where a weapon is hidden. That part of their statement becomes unbelievably powerful and admissible in court.
So now we get its value as evidence. But there's another huge factor that comes into play. Timing. What happens if the FIR itself is filed late? Does that matter?
A delay in filing an FIR isn't necessarily a deal breaker for a case, but you can bet it raises a huge red flag. It's something the court is going to look at very, very closely during the trial.
So what decides if a delay is a problem or not? Well, it all comes down to the explanation. If there's a good, reasonable cause for why it took so long, the court will likely just move past it. But without a valid reason, it can cast some serious doubt on the whole case, making it seem like the story might have been made up or changed over time.
But, the law isn't totally inflexible. It actually recognizes that in certain really sensitive cases, a delay in reporting a crime isn't just understandable, it's often to be expected. And this is perfectly captured in a landmark ruling from the Supreme Court of India. When it comes to cases of sexual offenses, the court has clearly stated that a delay in filing an FIR is considered self-explained.
This is just a huge acknowledgement of reality. The justice system gets it. It understands that the incredible trauma, the fear of what society will say, and all the family pressure can make it almost impossible for a victim to come forward right away. And in these cases, a delay doesn't weaken their story at all.
So you see, the FIR is so much more than just a piece of paper. It's a really dynamic legal tool, and its power can shift based on what's in it, when it was filed, and even on our society's evolving understanding of justice. And that leaves us with a pretty big question to think about. In this search for truth, how do we make sure our legal rules actually serve human reality and not the other way around?